Super Mario Maker 2 is on its way to the Switch, or to put it another way, the game that very nearly justified the entire existence of the late lamented Wii U will soon be available on a console that people have actually purchased. If all it is a more robust version of the original, that'll make it something like a must-buy. Clunky Wii U issues and all, the original Mario Maker remains one of the niftiest dedicated game creation playthings I've ever seen a major publisher put out. Tied to an existing franchise or otherwise, a legitimately potent creation tool that takes full advantage of not just how rock-solid the established Mario side-scroller engine has generally always been, but how ubiquitous the language of the series has turned out to be in the popular culture. But since it's Nintendo, it wouldn't feel right if there weren't one or two inexplicable bad decisions to go along with all the really terrific ones for people to focus on and get mad about. And the flavor for Mario Maker 2 is shaping up to be a near-official confirmation that the game's online multiplayer mode will only support anonymous and/or random interactions, i.e. you can't find and play online with known friends, though that is possible, obviously, in local multiplayer, aka the way Nintendo prefers to handle online multiplayer in pretty much all of its family titles. So, well, kind of a bummer, this really shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. I mean, not to be glib about it, because I'm not exactly thrilled either, but the idea that anyone didn't see this turn of events coming perplexes me, and not just in the usual sarcastic, oh, that Nintendo kind of way. I sincerely don't understand why the games culture either refuses to get or pretends not to get the supposed incongruity between quality and care Nintendo puts into its finely polished first-party games and its idiosyncratic yet somehow consistently delightful hardware, and the fact that it treats the internet like a plague-infested swamp it only ever visits because it has no other choice is actually entirely congruous. As in, these two supposedly opposing sides of the Nintendo identity are in fact the same side. No, I don't think it's too verbose or purple. We have a sophisticated audience. Okay, fine, I'll explain it a different way. Folks, let me put it simply. Have you ever perhaps considered that these games aren't lovingly crafted joy delivery art objects in spite of so little attention being given to the online component, but because so little attention was paid thusly, that the reason Nintendo first-party menagerie has been allowed to remain, for the most part, the last largely unspoiled walled garden of golden age gaming purity and what's otherwise a nuked-out hellscape of an industry seemingly dead set on staging its own managed apocalypse without the managed part, is that it is a walled garden in the first place? One of the most frequent shorthand descriptions from what's now 2 generations and counting of quote-unquote adults in the gaming scene regarding whichever new Nintendo product is captivating our emotional imagination is, "I feel like a kid again," which is pretty much the market Nintendo has had cornered ever since they rescued console gaming from oblivion by pretending the NES was basically a bonus gift you got with a cool toy robot.
Will you be the one to witness the birth of the incredible Nintendo Entertainment System? The first to play with Rob, the extraordinary video robot. Batteries not included. He follows the commands you put on the screen, so you get to the dynamite before it explodes. Will you be the one to raise the incredibly accurate zapper and play games like Duck Hunt? Will you be the one to experience the Nintendo Entertainment System? Comes with Rob, Zap.
And look, I'm right there with the rest of you. Nintendo are pretty much the only people making their kinds of games as well as they did back when you and I first encountered them in our gaming youth. And, well, do you remember what online multiplayer was like in your gaming youth? Because chances are it was extremely niche, infrequent, and decidedly not omnipresent. And that's for you younger folks. For people my age, it was a thing that didn't exist yet. The things people say they like about stuff like Smash Brothers, Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Mario Maker, and other signature Nintendo material, the polish, the attention to detail, the fact that they come out after rigorous testing and feel like labors of occasionally disturbing devotion from designers like Sakurai, who apparently still hooks himself up to an IV drip so he can put in the hours. Seriously, dude, please take a vacation, you've earned it. These are things that come about largely because they aren't having resources siphoned off to run entirely separate massive business teams just to make online play infrastructure work. And that's to say nothing of the toxic state of the internet itself. I mean, let's get real here. The point at which online gaming was this vibrant and exciting thing was over a decade ago, a period during which Nintendo was mostly on the sidelines of AAA, banking handheld and motion control money, and had no real reason to engage outside of proving that yes, people will pay way too much money for the momentary endorphin hit of downloading 8-bit games they sort of remember liking as kids. Today, online play outside of specific games that are only made to be played online and maintained with rigid, expensively staffed quality control teams, it's basically a shit show where most of the time you're there is going to be spent dealing with the joint annoyances of being harassed by middle school racists or nagged for cash by whatever pay-to-win loot box gambling scheme is keeping the game in question quasi-profitable. Now, you know it's not always easy to figure out what Nintendo is thinking. Why? Why are you going to do this to me? But I'm pretty sure we can all understand why a company that's as image conscious and protective of their properties would take one look at online games culture now, even the ostensibly good parts, and say, no, thank you. If there's one thing a company that makes a big part of its income creating and maintaining the integrity of beloved characters does not want, it's to spend all that time making sure a Kirby or a Link or a Little Mac or even an Olimar are still up to standards, only to have a gameplay loop of some asshole online doing a racism while they're on screen become a viral meme that eclipses and consumes their entire previous cultural identity. All of which is not to say that I don't understand and share my fellow gamers' collective frustrations about this seemingly intractable situation. I do. I would like few things more when it comes to gaming than for Nintendo's ultra-high polished specialty experiences to also feature the additional value-added goodies that have become thought of as obligatory in everyone else's slightly less polished, more compromised experiences. I just get that this is kind of the video game version of a have your cake and eat it too, tastes great, less filling kind of argument. Wow, that's kind of too old of a reference, right?
Great cake. Less filling. Great cake. Less filling. Great cake. Less filling. Great cake. Less filling. Great cake. Less filling.
Anyway, I understand why we're all mad that Nintendo is bad at online gaming still, but I hope we're also keeping in mind that at least half of the problem is that online gaming itself is, well, just bad in general, and that's something we've all got a part in. Just a thought.